Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. We are a podcast of three pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. Fellas, it is great to be with you today. Dad coming in hot from New Music City. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, but I'm still a little full from all that turkey and ham, but I'm making it.
We're still full from that Cowboys win, too, but on the other side, Adam's teams are up in flames. Liberty. And Adam, how you feeling today? Coming from Richmond.
I'm not doing well, and I'm going to share why in just a minute.
And then we also have a second Music City guest, the one and only, my good friend Jay Barbier, and his team didn't do so hot either. Jay, how you feeling today?
Hey, man, I'm alive, man, so it's good to just be here. And, hey, I know my team didn't win Saturday and my team didn't win Sunday, but quite honestly, man, as an LSU Tiger fan, I didn't think we were going to win any games this year. And so we came out a little better than I thought.
That's funny. Well, welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. We are four pastors today. If you don't know anything about pastors, an outlet is sports. So that's what we talk and think about: ministry, leadership, and sports. So, fellas, let's jump right in. Adam, I'm going to start with you, and we'll work our way around the horn. Jay, you can go next. What was your football weekend reaction? College, NFL, what caught your eye?
Well, first, let me I thought about calling in today. and I should have, because I've been following this Hugh Freeze Auburn thing like a hawk for 2 days, and literally right when we started recording, it came across my Facebook that Hugh Freeze is Auburn's next head coach.
Oh, Liberty!
So anyway, love Coach Freeze, love Coach Freeze. Thankful for all he's done, but I'm in a state of mourning right now. But on a national front, I can't help but take notice of USC. I think I mentioned them last episode, but they had just beaten their rival in UCLA, and then they beat Notre Dame pretty handedly. And I think Caleb Williams has kind of taken that step. And I think right now, if it started today, the Heisman voting, I think he runs away with the Heisman. And they've got their Pac-12 championship coming up, of course, this Saturday against Utah. So they've got another tough game. But if they can win it, they will be in the college football playoff, which is really ironic, because them and USC or UCLA, they're going to the Big Ten soon. And, part of the reason I think behind that is they felt like they could never get out in front and actually make the playoff and be relevant. But here they sit 1 year in with Lincoln Riley. So that really popped out to me on the college front. It's a big football weekend again, a lot of stuff going on, I understand. But that's my take.
Jay, I know you're a raging Cajun, so what stuck out to you this football weekend, sir?
Number one, I do not understand how Texas A&M ever became a rivalry against LSU.
I heard that earlier on the radio, and I thought, what?
It's Alabama and only Alabama. And really, that rivalry started once Saban left us, went to the NFL, couldn't make it, and then just took over in Alabama and then made everybody else's life miserable since he's been there. And so, but man, one of the things that didn't surprise me that we lost, but I'm hoping that's going to help us. I say us. As a little kid, I went to, our family had season tickets. My grandfather was a high school coach, so I grew up going to LSU games every Saturday. If not at the game, I was with the family watching it around the big screen. And so I say us because, man, I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that team.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm hoping it makes us a little hungry for the SEC championship game. And my wife and I are going. We're pretty pumped.
Nice.
And so we're going to be there. Even if we get our tails stomped, we're going to be rooting on our Tigers and have a good time.
That's cool. We'll talk a little bit about LSU a little bit more next segment, too. Dad, what stuck out to you this football weekend?
Ooh, there's a lot. I'm with Adam, USC. I think they me and Adam, was it me and you, Adam? I think it was me and Adam, and also me and Adam talked about South Carolina. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But USC, their quarterback is great. He's phenomenal. I think he's going to win the Heisman, and then he's coming back next year. So I think they're just going to continue. They don't really have a defense, So I don't predict them to go far in the playoffs. But I think they're a story. And I also think, LSU losing. But let's get back to the pros. Somebody said here, Cincinnati Bengals. And then somebody here named Adam Denny mocked me the first couple weeks. But I said, hey, just hold on, Joe Burrows. So one of these days, Adam.
Hey, Adam, would you like to correct him?
Correct him?
Yeah, what did you just say? No, Joe.
Oh, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. Yeah.
You say Joe Burrows.
I'm surprised Jay didn't hop in.
Yeah, Jay knows a thing or two about Joe Burrows. All right, sorry, continue.
And so you got Cincy playing good. I do believe that the Cowboys beat a 7-3 team and only really played one half. So that shows, because we're getting into that time where it's pretender or contender. And Dallas is definitely a contender. Giants a pretender. And one last thing. You officially have Tampa Bay and their legend and Green Bay and their legend. They're officially done for the year. And maybe, just maybe, you may see them never get to that high point again. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think we're seeing that. And then let me close with this. Jets, Jets. And I'm pretty excited to see the Jets. I think they may have found their quarterback. We'll kind of see. It could be a one-week wonder, but I'm hopeful. They got a great defense, and if anybody deserves to win a little bit, it's the Jets.
Wild football weekend. Starting college, I think it's got to be said. Michigan, round of applause. 2 years in a row.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it today. Harbaugh said, we're going to he said, we're going to out-culture and out-tough Ohio State, and they've done that. And so ever since Urban Meyer has moved on, this is a new day, and Harbaugh is starting to look a little settled. Now the question is, how does he do in the playoffs? Because he did all this last year, and then Georgia just waxed him. So kudos to Michigan. The Ohio State is on the hot seat because, man, you lose to Michigan 3-4 years in a row, you are going to be up a creek. On the pro side, Bengals came into town. We were all in Nashville yesterday, and they rolled. Obviously, Tannehill just looks limited. I mean, he is. When he's in a shootout, they just don't have enough offense. Trevor Lawrence looked good yesterday, coming through with that last-second win in overtime. Him finally starting to show a little maturation. Mike White and the Jets, I mean, he's starting to soar just like you were talking about. That's a fun one. And then we are just picking on Adam today, but Adam's pick, Russell Wilson. Woo! Man, the Broncos, they're just falling hard. And so
that's fine. They lost to my Panthers.
Yeah. That's Adam's best team lately. Ever since they had a fire sale and traded their whole team, Raiders won yesterday, and so just got a lot of stuff going on. You're seeing right now Colorado is in the running to get Deion Sanders, so that'll be interesting to see if he does that. I thought he'd go to a little bit higher school. I think he should wait. I think there'll be more people. I would love to see Deion go to Liberty. I think that'd be he's a Christian man. Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
I said that would be its own series of television shows.
Yes, that's right.
Deion don't want to go out to the cold in Colorado, but hey, let's keep it moving. Let's talk a little bit of LSU. Jay, give us the truth serum here. 2 questions. I'll set you up for the tough part first and the happy part on the back end. Do you think LSU has the potential to beat Georgia? And then, as a true LSU fan, how would you rate Brian Kelly's first year, and how do you feel about the program going forward?
Absolutely, we have a chance against Georgia. Ooh. We're hoping that they all get the flu. That would help us out. But honestly, our defense and then our potential with the legs of Daniels, I think we could hold our own with everybody if we're hungry. I think we went into Texas A&M a little too cocky. I think you saw the turnaround with LSU this year because they thought they had nothing left. And it was like, when you have nothing else to lose, that's when the teams, to me, are scariest. And that's when, to me, potentially we could go in there and mess it all up for Georgia. And it's like, that's honestly, that's SEC football right there, man. We're going to go in there. We would probably beat Georgia. Now, I'm saying that probably. I think there's maybe a 99% chance Georgia is going to stomp us on the ground 50-0. But, man, honestly, with Perkins, man, he is tearing it up on defense. But not only him, man, we've got LSU always has pretty elite defensive backs. Our defensive line is really strong. But, man, our offense has really surprised me this year. And Coach Kelly he has come in. To me, he has brought some integrity and some character back to the head coaching position. I was a huge Coach O fan as a Cajun. Man, to have somebody from our home, man, this is somebody that he's like family. Like, this is who gets to be the head coach, and he just let fame get to him, and it corrupted his character.
Hey,
And
Jay,
it just went downhill from there.
Let me stop you there. I've wondered this. Do you think Coach O would be a head coach again? And if so, where would you see that happening and when?
I think they had to buy him out of his contract. I think that man can buy boudin and gumbo for the rest of his life and never have to worry about it. Look, hey, I'm a Tennessean now. Like, I really believe that. Like, I'm from Louisiana, but man, Tennessee is my home. But man, I miss the food. And when you go other places, you just can't get the same food. You can't get the same cooking. And so he lives in the heartbeat of the cookbooks of the world. And so, I mean, why does he need to go anywhere? Because I think there's a lot of people that they're using him for recruiting to at least talk with. And so that's where I think his heart is. He saw that coming back when he came to LSU as the head coach. He saw where he failed at Ole Miss, where he failed at why he didn't get the job at USC. He knew he could not run the show. Like, he had to go hire the best of the best. I think that's why we won the national championship, because we took his passion and his hunger. We went out there and kicked everybody's tail, and then he let fame get to him, and it's kind of sad, man. You know, it's.
Hey, let me answer your question, Adam. I don't think he's going to coach again, but I will say this: if he wants to, I think he can find a place. When you have a national championship, you can coach again. However, to be honest with you, I never really thought he was a great coach. I think everything fell on his lap. You see the receivers that he had. You see the quarterback that he had. I think he had a great offensive coordinator, and they just took it by storm. But as soon as they were gone, then, the program went downhill. So I'm like Jay. He's going to be sitting fat and happy. But, I don't think a reputable college would take him. It's his time just to kind of sit back and relax and enjoy his spoils. Yeah, but let me tell you about Kelly. Though. I think you guys got one heck of a football coach. And I think next year, you really need a quarterback. If you can get a quarterback, halfway decent quarterback, I think you guys, with the athletes that LSU brings in every year, along with the tactician that he is, I think y'all will be in contention every year. I think he's a fantastic coach. But let me just throw one more thing. I actually think Georgia better be on upset alert, because there's nothing to prove. LSU doesn't have that weight in going to the national championship, and now it's all out. And so they've got some athletes. And so we have seen Georgia play at a high level against Tennessee, but we've also seen Georgia, bring it down to earth. They didn't play real good against Kentucky, and a couple of teams that hadn't played real good. So if they don't bring their A game and LSU comes with no pressure, it can be a great game. With all that said, Georgia's winning.
Man, can you imagine what that would do to the college playoff bracket buster? Whew, I don't even know where they would rank up. And honestly, if LSU beat Georgia and the SEC championship, even with 3 losses, I mean, there'd be some thought to put them in there.
Well, let me tell you what would happen. Here comes Alabama.
Yeah,
Alabama, we're going to be back in the mix again.
That would be bad. Not the Georgia, Alabama Invitational.
You can't lose, Georgia. We can't have that.
Gosh, yeah. Well, it'll be interesting keeping an eye on the game as we.
Adam, what do you think about that? What do you think about how Kelly's been doing?
Yeah, I agree with Jay. I think LSU, maybe more than any other school in the nation. When I think of LSU, I think of athletes, and if you've got athletes, like you said, nothing to lose. You better watch out. I think they can. I don't think they will, but I do think it'll be a close game.
Yeah, I do too.
And, I think Brian Kelly has overachieved this year. LSU obviously is a top 10 program and always has great recruits, but I kind of thought he might have a 7-5 type season, especially with their schedule. So even with dropping the opening game to Florida State, he's really done a good job, and it's kind of surprised me. I'm not like overly surprised or anything, but he's done a good job.
And beating LSU might have saved old Jimbo Fisher. I don't know if y'all saw today he fired his defensive coordinator, but Texas A&M better get it turned around quick, or he's going to be out of there. And, hey, Jay, real quick, because I know you kept track with your social media. Jay got to go to a Chiefs game in Arrowhead this season, correct?
It was last year.
How was it? Tell us real quick, because we'll probably never get to go in our lives. What was Arrowhead like?
So, man, I have the advantage. I get to travel all over the place working with Southern Baptist Convention, and I had meetings in Kansas City. So I got to go to a Kansas City Chiefs game against the Cleveland Browns. I think it was either 15 or 20 LSU football players on the field. And so I wore an LSU shirt, and it was one of the, I don't know if y'all have ever seen the OHT Operation Hat Trick. If you buy the shirts, it looks like a military shirt and has the American flag on it. People thought I was military, and I didn't know what was going on. Like, they escorted me to the front of the lines, got to go in, and I was like, man, what's going on? And they thought I was a military, and I'm like, number one, I'm way too big to be a military guy. But it was, I was there just, man, it was a crazy environment. It was the closest thing to a college environment in the NFL that I've ever been to. It was good. And I think it was a U.S. stealth bomber, like, flew right over us.
Wow.
That was crazy. And so, man, I was about the top of the stadium as you could get, and that was pretty awesome.
Just they did that to the military. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey,
that was the cheapest tickets I could find, and they were very expensive.
Hey, well, that's definitely a football bucket list, Arrowhead one day, and so is LSU and the Superdome, baby. But anyway, that's funny. Well, hey, that's going to wrap up our segment on sports. Now we're going to shift gears to ministry and leadership. So, Jay, you've already answered one of our questions, but there's two other questions that every time we have a pastor on, we ask him these same questions. So first, would you just kind of tell us a little bit about your family currently, your job and your role, maybe give an overview, kind of the past year of your life of what you've gone through. I know a lot of people have followed your story, but then the next question is, what is, and I know you've got one in the many years you preach, what is your biggest preaching blunder?
Man, I don't make no mistakes, man. Come on. Man, so, okay, I'm been married for 24 years to my amazing wife, Natalie. We have two children, a 20-year-old son, and he is serving as a youth pastor right outside of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Could not be more proud of him as a dad, brother. I mean, y'all's family right here. I mean, this proves it, man, with the legacy of when you make disciples and you pour into your kids, it works. And so he also got to get married this year to an amazing bride, and she loves Jesus. Their future, it looks like they're going to probably be missionaries. My son has a huge passion for French-speaking people. He is fluent in French, and so super proud of him for taking over our heritage, being from South Louisiana, but also just, man, he has a love for evangelism. I also have a 19-year-old daughter. It's her senior year. That really shifted the direction of our life. Our daughter has Down syndrome, and that is what pole vaulted me into full-time ministry. And God used that, one of the hardest moments of our life at the moment, to just use us in ministry. And man, God has led so many people to his throne through her life and her situation. But almost a year ago, September 29th, of last year, 2021, I found out that I had stage 3 cancer. And so this past year has been very difficult, but man, God has been good. I've got all clear scans right now, but to get to this point, we just had to be brutally honest. We had thousands and thousands of churches praying for us. And that just counted for multitudes of people that were willing to pray for us. And I believe because of that honesty and sincerity, and getting people to pray and just being honest in our situation, my hope is it taught people how when you go through things, don't try to carry the burdens on your own. Like we need to. That's what the church is designed for. Is how do we love one another? How do we, carry one another's burdens? And my wife, she was a full-time special education teacher and had to resign her job teaching to come home, take care of me as I went through chemo and radiation. And but man, God has blessed us through that. She's now not having to work full-time. She works at a co-op for homeschooling, and that has been a blessing that she still gets to be at home with us, and she's doing more ministry now, and also the benefit of being home a lot more. But man, our family's been good. I had 2 major surgeries this year, and right now I feel better than I did.
That's cool. Jay, can you give
a ministry? Yeah, I was gonna say, so my job, I'm the youth specialist for Tennessee Baptist, and my job is to go around serving churches. How do I resource with them, network with them, and equip them as a church? And my specialty is in youth ministry. And so how do I help develop their youth pastors? How do I maybe help take a look at what they're doing for youth ministry and give them some advice and help them get to where they need to be? And so I just take my passion for youth ministry, and as I go around the state, one of the things I love to do is get to preach. And so, man, God has blessed me this year. Just since when I got from my last surgery, from August 26th until like just recently, I had like 25 speaking engagements, and it was like the Lord blew me away with so many opportunities to go and share my story. And man, we saw kids get saved, and it's been a huge blessing. And but one of the mess ups recently, which I thought it was kind of funny, is I've been using an iPad lately. Ever since 2020, since COVID, I changed over to an iPad because I went from just memorizing my sermons to using full manuscript, because COVID made us. I would have to go and like preach sometimes 3 or 4 times for one church. And what I noticed was after sermon 2, man, I forgot what I said in the last sermon. I was like, have I already said that? Am I repeating myself? So I had to kind of go through a manuscript. Well, man, the other day I had a Bible, and I'm looking at it, and I went and I got my fingers to go make it bigger. And I did that to my Bible. You know how you to an iPad to make it larger? I'm like, what is wrong? Why won't this thing, increase in size? And I'm like, I'm doing that to a hard copy of God's word. But anyway, I'm sure you could go back and listen to a lot of my sermons, you're going to find a whole bunch of mistakes. My hope is I never steer people the wrong way.
That's funny. Well,
Hey, Adam, I got a blunder. I got a recent blunder.
I was going to go ahead and say it, but go for it.
So there was this guy, right? There was this guy that I invited to preach at our church this past Sunday, and gave us his information. We talked about his sermon, and so he gave my wife the sermon so she can put on our worship guide some notes. And then he gave it to our tech guys to put it up on the screen when he got up there. So this guy started preaching, and all of a sudden there's nothing on the screen. And so I'm wondering what's going on. And I get this text, and they said, we have a sermon that's talking about Jabez. And so then I look at our worship guide, and the worship guide, it's the notes about Jabez. And this guy was preaching in Acts. And so come to find out,
and Aquila.
This guy that was supposed to be teaching about Priscilla and Aquila, and he did. All the notes that he gave us was about Jabez. So that's this guy, man. Whoever this guy is, I won't recommend him to your church. So don't worry about
all
that.
of our sermon slides, our tech guy Mitch makes them. He puts them on Dropbox. So I went and found it, and I was like, all right, there's my week. Found my week. I sent the week before, and I was like, man, I was like, need my, you preach, you really need slides. I was doing a Priscilla and Aquila. I was bouncing around all over the New Testament, and I sent him the wrong darn week. So, it happens to the best of us.
Hey, you guys know how old school I am. That is one reason I don't mess around with any of that stuff.
You don't do sermon slides?
Nope.
What?
Oh man.
My gosh.
I want you with your Bible open and I'm constantly saying, look at this verse, look at that. To me, the screens, and we're off on a rabbit trail now, but let's go.
It's all right. It's all right.
The screens just set you up for an occasional, blunder like that, and it's highly distracting.
That is true, but you'll be proud of me, Adam. I had to stand for the reading of God's word, Bible in hand.
Amen, amen.
But so many people nowadays are visual, and so us borderline expositors, as you might call, we like to work in points of application every now and then, and so it's kind of good to put him on the screen. Jay Adams, he's our 18th century expositor by the book, right. John MacArthur style. So.
Look, I'm a suppository preacher as well. And
hey, I'm not saying we're not, but he would categorize this as a little different.
I don't think you heard what I said.
He didn't.
I'm a suppository preacher.
Oh, there you go. I like that one. I like that one.
But say, for me as a traveling preacher, I don't use slides as well because my first couple times, man, they never got anything right. So I do the same thing. Hey, open your word. Let's go to the word.
Good point. Yeah. Good point. Well, hey, with that said, let's jump into these. We got 2 questions we're going to walk through organically. If one takes longer, then we can X-nay the second one. But, Jay, I'm going to start off with you. You being a youth specialist, we want to kind of pick your brain a little bit. So here's the first question I want to ask you. How can the church and parents today most effectively reach and disciple students in today's world?
Yeah. I think it's simple as making disciples. So we have to be willing to mentor our kids. We have to be willing to hold them accountable. And I think it's one of the things, I think that's what's been missing. Honestly, for the last 20 years, we're seeing less and less people that are surrendering to the call to ministry. I think one of the reasons that, number one, is we're not calling out the called. The second thing is I think we're leaving discipleship we're making that into a classroom experience instead of, hey, come with me as I sit at a table. Come with me as I go pray for a family. Come with me as I go to work. That's what discipleship is. And I think that's what we've been missing. So I think for families, and even if you have, like, I know that there are kids in churches that don't have a mom or dad that are in the church, but how do we get men and women to pour into the next generation, bring them along with them through life? I think that's how you raise the next generation to make a difference.
That's good. Adam?
Yeah, specifically for parents, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, it is required and expected of parents to disciple their children. That is the groundwork for disciple making in the life of any family, and then by extension, local church, and then by further extension, society. And so when you don't do that, you set yourself up to fail. But, one thing that's really been a hot topic issue for the last maybe 5 years or so is public schools. And I'm not here to, berate parents that send their kids to public schools, because it's an issue of conscience and context. But I think, we're hearing this word deconstruction thrown around a lot. And what I'm finding in my reading of this is that a lot of people are saying as soon as they go off to the public university, they're being deconstructed. And my response is, I don't think they were ever quite well constructed to begin with. If it takes a year or two to do that, it seems more like they've been in the incubator for most of their life in these settings. And again, I'm not berating public schools because there's so many godly teachers, principals, admin. But I think that's something that Christians are going to have to start really thinking about. And me as a pastor, I've had to kind of talk through this in my mind and flesh it out with people I trust here in our church about, how should I address this from the pulpit? Because we've been saying this for 50 or 60 years, and now it's like we're waking up to the consequences of it. So, and not just in grade school, but that goes for university settings as well. How can we as Christians for 18 years have these kids in our care and bring them up in church and teach them the truth, and then basically go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to send them off to somebody who's going to try to tear down everything we work to build in them? So, we could talk about this for hours and hours, and I get that, but I think it's something that needs to start being, at the forefront of our minds.
That's good. Dad, do you want to come from the different the older
Yeah.
perspective?
Well, and I agree 100% of what was just spoken, and especially verbatim with Adam. And here's a different perspective. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself what I want most for my child. Because what you want most, and I think it's important to really ask that question, because a lot of times we don't ask our questions. We just say, well, we go to church on Sundays, I take them to school, we do this, we watch that, we take them to this movie, they go to sports and they start to play baseball and softball. But I think we need to take a step back and say, okay, well, what do I really want most? If you really ask yourself that, you would probably, if you gave yourself time and understanding who you are, would say, oh, I want them to be a fully devoted follower of Christ. Now, the next question is your lifestyle and the things that you're doing with your child matching it? Because I think people say it without really thinking through it. And then in actuality, what they spend their most of their time with their child does not match what they think that they want. And so you really have to ask yourself those tough questions, and then put in place some action items to do that. And so I'll go back to Adam. I love watching Adam's pictures with his kids, because he's spending time with them. They're going to football, they're going to Liberty games, they're going to church. And so he's developing a real good relationship with his kids. And so they have that connection. But I also know Adam, what matters most to him, and that's his faith and his devotion to the Lord. And so I think you have to have a good relationship with your kids, number one. And then number two, truly steer them to these things and not just do lip service, because every Christian parent will say, well, I want them to have a good faith with Jesus. But in actuality, the time that's spent and the path that they're making is not towards Jesus in that relationship. It's towards everything else that this world has to offer. So I think parents have to be really honest with themselves and where they're driving their kids. But then also, immature Christian parent will never push his kids to be a mature young man or young woman. It just doesn't work. And so if you want to have mature kids in Christ, you too always has to be mature as well.
Joe, do you know when we always see that, and it's ironic when it happens, and it's rare that it's like very public, but, and Jay, I love what you said about your son being in youth ministry and feeling called to missions. There's a lot of Christian parents, and they're really Christians,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought their kid to church and did all that thing. But if their kid says in their early 20s, we feel called of God to go to the mission field, their impulse is, what?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't go, and we're gonna have grandbabies and all this stuff. So I love what you're saying, Joe, because you really have to have that settled very early on. Like, this is a child God has given me. I am the steward of this child, and my ultimate goal is to see this child know God and glorify him, whatever that might look like, which in of itself is nothing to cough at. You know, you got to deal with that internally yourself as a parent. But we do see that from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to have that. We have to have the Hannah approach. Like, Hannah was longing for a child, and she prayed, and they thought that she was drunk because she was just so, like, crying out, begging God. But when she got the blessing of a child, she gave the child back to the Lord and said, "Okay, God, he's yours." And like, that's to me, like, just if you look at that, it's crazy to think, why would you beg for something so much? Then as soon as you have it, you give it away. But that's what we're called to do as a parent.
Mm.
Hey, let me add one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so important that a parent need to work hard to have a good relationship, not just a parent-child relationship, but a good relationship. Because when you have a good relationship, then it's so much easier to steer because of that good relationship. But, you know, especially with pastors, if you ever notice, if you are a ministry family, you have a lot of young kids that will follow in their footsteps. You also see pastors' kids that either go one way or the other, because they're always pushing. They understand, oh, you're in ministry. Oh, you're in ministry. And so we have to be careful that we don't push too hard. And that's why it's so important to have that good relationship. Because if you don't have a good relationship with your kids and then you can actually push them too hard. And so that's why you have that running joke, oh, you're a PK kid, you're the worst of them all. Is because they try to push them to Jesus without having a good relationship, and it doesn't work.
It's a good thought. Jay, I liked what you said too about calling out the call. Shout out new book, Scott Pacey's coming on in January. But anyway, one of my favorite things to do, and maybe it's a little easier for me because I'm a little younger and I don't come across as a parent, but one of my favorite things to do is to pick a 12, a 13-year-old in our church, and just very early, I'll go to the parents and say, hey, listen, you got a future pastor. If the Lord chooses, but speak that out there early on. And we've got 2 or 3 kids right now that are, going through college. I'm like, hey, I really think you should pursue ministry. Hey, I really think you should pursue ministry. And that's one of the coolest things. We had one of our students preach his first message a few weeks ago. And just seeing that early, the Lord will weed out who's called and who's not. But just throwing that seed, man, that's one of my favorite things to do. But I think there's a lot of good practical takeaways of what we just talked about. At the end of the day, it has to be modeled. Let's transition, because one of the challenges for young folks is they are not comfortable facing adversity. Parents a lot of days like to fix the problem for them. And so, Jay, here's my next question, and you have such a unique perspective. And here's the question. How do trials and tribulations refine and shape our faith?
Yeah. The fire, as you go through it, it burns away the fat. It burns away the junk. And this is going to sound weird, but I've been talking about it a lot over the last couple of weeks. I miss the moments when I was going through chemotherapy where I didn't know if I was going to live till tomorrow. I called Fridays my death days. Like I literally did not know if I would make it through the day. I felt that awful. But those were the moments that I had to cling on to Jesus tighter than I've ever clung, grabbed onto him in my life. And my prayer was so much, there was way more begging and yearning for the Lord. My time in the Word was desperately seeking him. I was wanting to know him even more because I kept thinking, Lord, I might come home tomorrow. I want to know as much as I can. Like I know that I don't think I'm going to have a test when I get up, and be like, hey, you need to answer all these questions that, how well do you know your the Word? But he gave us his redeeming love story. And I believe he wants us to know him. And the way we know him is by knowing his Word and reading his Word. But I think anytime we go through a hard trial, and I think we all have to get to the point to understand everybody's story is different. Just because I go through cancer doesn't mean somebody else that just went through they stubbed their toe doesn't mean that wasn't a difficulty in their life. I had the hard pill for me that I had to swallow was the day that I was diagnosed. My wife and I were weeping. We went to a Sonic just to get a drink. Honestly, I think we were close to dehydration from crying so much. We went to Sonic, got a drink. And I remember when the lady came out, brought me a drink, I kept thinking, this lady does not realize the words that I just heard. Like when I was told you have cancer, I thought I was dead. And she went back, but it made me also have the mindset of everybody I come into contact. I don't know what they've just gone through. And we have to have that kind of mentality to see people, because honestly, a lot of times I think people act certain ways because of situations that they go through. And so anyway, I just think that refining draws us closer to Jesus.
Good word. Adam, thoughts?
Yeah, I like what Jay said. And, the scripture, it doesn't leave us guessing about this. That word refining is the word. We see that in James 1. We see that in 1 Peter 1. We see it in Proverbs, just talking about, I love the example that he used about it gets burnt away. That's what one of the Proverbs says about trials. But and I like what Jay said too, because, not everyone has been through cancer. Not everyone has lost a child or lost a spouse or, what we think of as like a major life trial. But everyone has their own battles, and everyone deals with those battles differently. And that's also true in those kind of major trials that people experience. Just watching people grieve the loss of someone very close to them, that spectrum of how people deal with that is as wide as the day is long. But one thing that I've learned in recent years, because I think everyone went through trials of different kinds through COVID for one reason or another, particularly people in ministry, it was a very trying time, is that it refines emotional intelligence for leaders, because it forces you, trials do, to see God as sovereign. It forces you to not only say that with your lips, but to the best of your ability, believe that in your heart, that God is at work, he is in control. And that helps kind of stabilize you as you're the leader. You have to have that emotional intelligence, which has kind of been a buzzword the last few years, but I think it is for a good reason. There's a lot of leaders that flounder out, whether it's in ministry or the secular world, because they don't know how to handle situations involving their own emotions and responses to whatever might be happening. So trials have a unique way of doing that. And I am far more better at handling stressful situations in ministry, not because I handled them perfectly early on, but because I've been through those growing pains. I've got those scars, and I've still got a lot of growing to do, but I've learned to not freak out over everything that comes my way in form of a trial, as either a Christian or as a minister.
That's good, Dad. You want to bring us home?
I'm going to bring us home in a different way. I think it's important. We're talking about kids and teens and children. I think this is hugely important as a parent to allow trials and tribulations for your children, because you want them to go through those things under your umbrella. And when they can begin to learn how to handle and go through some difficulties, you want to be there, and you want to be the sounding board. You want to be the advice. That's some great tools to learn at a young age, where you don't protect them, you promote Jesus. And so many times I think parents protect their kids, and they take away life's ability to begin to teach these things at a young age. And I think we've seen the hindrances of maturity, because parents have come and protected their kids from everything. But, even with Joseph, there were times when he would have a problem with a coach, or have a problem with this, or have an issue. And I would work hard to be hands off and say, hey, if you have a problem, go talk to your head coach, go talk to your teacher. If you have a problem, go, do some critical thinking, go pray about these things, go into the word. But you're also there kind of watching, kind of listening, kind of watching their body language, talking through these things, but you don't jump in and handle the situations for them. So I think it's just important, as we talked a little bit about, your kids, is to allow these things, look for these things, because, James says, hey, there's great joy in the trials that you face because of what it produces. Well, if we're not careful, parents can actually be the hindrance of maturity that can hurt them when they go out into the real world, or they go to a college, or they have their first job. So look for opportunities, and then be there for them, give them good wisdom, but let them handle it. I think that will go a long ways in maturing this next generational leader for Christ.
That's good. Well, fellas, we appreciate it. May we be refined today. Jay, we'll be watching your LSU Tigers as you're at the game on Saturday. Glad to have you with us. Everybody have a great day. See you next week.